There are these, basically it's like a made up thing, right? Like a beauty tip that we would write as an editor. And you fast forward like a decade later and everyone still does it.
12-step skincare.
Well, not just 12-step skincare. It's things like rinse your hair in cold water after you've washed it.
Myth.
It was made up.
And so it's like people will be getting into the weeds.
It closes your cuticle.
Yes. Well, people will like be getting into like debunking it and the science. And I'm like, why don't we just look up where it came from? And that will actually close the conversation much more quickly because you're actually giving credence to the idea by debating it and giving it the same sort of rigor of like scientific verification and like the scientific method. I'm like, it's made up.
Welcome to GlowLab. We're gonna have a lot of fun and learn a lot together. When it comes to skincare, there can be a lot of myths and misconceptions. That's why today's guest is so perfect for this topic. Her name is Charlotte Palermino. She is a licensed esthetician, and she's also the co-founder of Dieux Skincare. And she talks about all of this stuff on her own social media all the time. She addresses the myths. She addresses the history of where a lot of these things come from. And she's also a really good friend of mine. So we talk about this stuff all the time. So it's just a really fun chat, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Hi.
Hi.
Wait, this is so fun because we always have so many offline conversations and now we're actually doing it on camera.
I mean, I feel like you're the beauty industry's like call a friend. Whenever I need advice, I'm like, what would Susan do? Let me call her real quick.
Actually, that actually makes me so happy to be referred to that.
It's true because honestly, like anyone I talk to, like, have you talked to Susan? I'm like, good point.
Well,
because
I'm always here for
I
you.
have to say something. Every time I ask you for advice, I don't always listen to it. But I know, even if I don't take the advice, because maybe I'm like too afraid to hurt someone's feelings, I know that in the long run, you're going to be right. And so I'm like, listen, it's just what kind of like negotiating do I have to do with my own brain to just get through this?
No, I get that. It's always a little hard.
Sometimes you're not ready to hear it yet.
Or you just need to go through it yourself, right? Like you have to experience it yourself and then go from there.
Exactly. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy.
I guess we're taking it from the DMs and the chats to now. Online.
Exactly. Well, one of my favorite things that you do is you really break down a lot of myths. You simplify it. You also go into a lot of history and really get into like where, like whether it's like an ingredient or some kind of a skincare trend, where it comes from.
So it's my favorite thing to do.
I love that about your social media. It's my favorite thing. Besides the fact that you have a skincare brand that's amazing as well.
Well, half these myths come from people who happen to publish some popular science book in like the 70s or 80s. Like if you want to look at seed oils, it's from a pop sci book. There's actually like this whole idea of like our ancestors having this like perfect ratio of omega. No.
I know.
It's all made up. And so it's like you can debate the merits of the science, but who cares? It's like it came from nothing. Like it came from a rumor. So why are we even talking about this?
I love that so much.
Guy.
I know. It's exhausting. I come from editorial, right? Like that's my background.
We have the same background.
I know. Oh, yes, that's right. We worked in media. I was talking to one of my friends who was a fashion editor, and we both were laughing about the fact that there are these, basically it's like a made up thing, right? Like a beauty tip that we would write as an editor. And you fast forward like a decade later and everyone still does it.
12-step skincare.
Well, not just 12-step skincare. It's things like rinse your hair in cold water after you've washed it.
Myth.
It was made up.
And so it's like people will be getting into the weeds.
It closes your cuticle.
Well, people will like be getting into like debunking it and the science. And I'm like, why don't we just look up where it came from? And that will actually close the conversation much more quickly because you're actually giving credence to the idea by debating it and giving it the same sort of rigor of like scientific verification and like the scientific method. I'm like, it's made up.
It was
it was made up by somebody who wanted to sell books, and like ancestors is like the biggest. Yes, it's like the biggest excuse. I'm like, whose ancestors? You're from Ireland. Why are you talking about beef tallow as sunscreen? Like, get out of here.
I know.
Your UV index was -4.
Let's talk about first, okay? You are actually an esthetician. I think a lot of people don't realize
that. Licensed esthetician. I practiced at the very beginning. Okay. And then it was COVID, so it just kind of fell off. I am thinking about opening up a little studio though.
Wait, why?
Because it's really important because an esthetician's license will get you a base level understanding of skin. So what estheticians can work in is the epidermis. And people love to use that as a knock. And I'm like, that's where melanocytes are. It's your number one barrier to external aggressors. And I would say that especially with the popularization of skincare, so many of our skin problems are self-inflicted.
Right.
And so actually estheticians perform a really important role in just helping you actually simplify your routine. I don't think everyone does that. That's my personal philosophy. And so for me, I'm like, actually, there's some really cool stuff we can do. I also love doing facial massage. to my boyfriend's great delight. Because I practice on him all the time, but he would say probably not enough actually. So
of course.
We'll see. I'm correcting the record. But I just think it's really important to connect with people, learn what they're struggling with, because there are so many things that are never going to be studied by science because you can't make money off of it. And so it's really important to get some of these anecdotal things, not to make like medical recommendations, but to kind of see where the trends are going. And so for me, I'm seeing in my DMs all the time, people are like, I'm using like 10 barrier repair products and my skin is just fucked. And I'm like, yes, because you shouldn't be layering 10 products. It doesn't matter if they don't have vitamin C. That's a lot of product to put on your, that's a lot of preservative systems. And then you have sunscreen and then you're reapplying sunscreen. And then you have a face mist. I'm like, that's a lot that you're putting your skin through every day. Like it's quite simple what your skin at the baseline needs. But yeah, working with the epidermis, like that is what the skincare industry is. So having an esthetician's license, especially so you don't fall for marketing, which is the real reason I got it, was I was in a room with Joyce and she was just constantly checking me. She's like,
wait, who's Joyce? Tell everybody who Joyce is.
Joyce is my brilliant co-founder. She is a cosmetic chemist with over 15 years of experience now. And so, yeah, she's like 42. Like nobody knows, like, wait, what? And so she has been working, she worked at Gilead doing actual drug development. She then worked at SkinCeuticals, Cosmax, which is a Korean contract manufacturer. She actually helped build out, I believe, their Ohio contract manufacturing facility. And so much of my education comes from Joyce, just kind of like sharing with me things. And then we also have a formulator, Becca, now on staff, Becca Perry. And so she was just constantly correcting me. And I always wanted a scientist as my co-founder because I was like, I am so susceptible to marketing because I'm not a scientist.
Well, we all are.
We all are. And so for a marketer loves a good story. And so for me, I love a good story. Yeah. And that's why I love history.
Oh, I love a good story.
History is a great story. That's what our background is. And so for me, I was like, okay, well, science needs better PR because science is losing right now in the conversation.
I agree.
Big time. And so how do we make science a more accessible, romantic, exciting thing to talk about while also not telling people falsehoods about what products do, right? Like this is a facelift in a bottle or this product is killing you. I think that is actually the most nefarious conversation because of what it's done from a political standpoint, which now is impacting the day-to-day lives and safety of Americans. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I got that license in the first place, not thinking it was going to make me like some like massive expert. It was more, I was like, I need to stop embarrassing myself in the room with Joyce. And Joyce will tell you, I've made great leaps and bounds in the last 7 years.
I love it. All right. So there's a trend on social media, skincare truths I'd tell you if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings. You have a few of these.
I have so many of them because I think ultimately so many things are not studied. And then people start promoting it like it's truth. Yep. And it's like, it depends. I think that's like the easiest way. You don't want to mislead people where they feel like they're doing something wrong or that there's something wrong with them. And so for me, it was I've seen people now with skin flooding. And I think skin flooding can be beautiful for some people if you have really resilient skin. I have perioral dermatitis. Perioral dermatitis is extremely complicated because a lot of dermatologists I speak to, they're like, we don't really know what the pathology of this is. Yeah. Different things trigger for different people. But the one thing I hear consistently is that they see it usually clear up when people stop using so much skincare. It can be a trigger. It's not just retinol, which can be a trigger, or like actives and things like that.
It's the retinoids for me.
Right? And so it's like for different people, it's everything. And so, but when you're recovering, if you start putting tons of barrier repair and ointments, they all started cringing. They're like, stop using all those, just dry out your skin. Yeah. Because the flare will heal faster. We don't know why. Yeah. And will it be studied? Maybe. I don't know. There's so much perioral dermatitis, it seems, going around, but that might be the internet. But I will say, I talked to a lot of estheticians and dermatologists because I was just curious because I haven't had perioral dermatitis in years. I had it in my 20s. Yeah. And then I cleared it up because I did a skin fast, which was essentially no skincare, just my prescription and a hat, like no sunscreen even.
Yeah, I know. I know. People freak out whenever they tell you stop the sunscreen, everything.
Yeah, but the dermatologist was like, stop everything. We don't know what it is. It's probably not going to get studied. And that was over 15 years ago.
And it's still not studied. Still not studied.
So it's like in the abundance of caution, just stop. And so what happened? It immediately cleared up. And I made a bunch of videos about this and the amount of people. It's all anecdotal, right? Like it's not proven, but like, I'm like, why not just try it? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's saving you money and it's potentially going to help you out so that you know something in the future. It might not work, but at the end of the day, for me, I'm like preaching caution and saving your money. I'm never Like you can get mad at me for that all day long.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I want to help people with their skin.
Totally. What are some other things that you would tell people about their skincare if you didn't want to hurt their feelings?
I mean, I think that so much of skincare is what you like. There is no one product that is like the holy grail that everyone needs. And so influencers need to cool it with those like clickbaity kind of like titles.
Yeah.
And even like with something like vitamin C that's like so well studied, it's not like a drug proven claim that it's going to help with hyperpigmentation.
Yeah.
And so it's very much so going to be dependent on the person. Is it a wonderful ingredient? Yeah, it's a pretty great ingredient if you can tolerate it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and depending on the formula you use.
Yeah.
Any other ones that you think stand out?
I mean, I feel like a lot of them are very common knowledge, but then I realized that there's something new every time. And we're all learning.
And also, we live in a bubble of skincare.
Yes. Yes. And so even things like, for me, my holy grail, the products I would never live without, it would be a retinoid, sunscreen, moisturizer.
Same. Oh, and a really good cleanser.
Yes. Yes. That's kind of like a given. So that's like my holy grail 4-step routine. And then in the morning, I would love like you replace the retinoid with an antioxidant. I actually don't really do much more than that. And people, like I was starting to film my morning and nighttime routine every single day just to show people. And it was getting so monotonous. And everyone's like, well, aren't you trying new products? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And so I think that surprises people too.
That you don't switch it up.
I switch around my sunscreens, sometimes how I moisturize and hydrate my skin. But the antioxidant and the retinoid, those categories do not shift.
I'd say for the most part, mine don't really either. I just switch out the products. Yeah. You were kind of talking about, some of the misconceptions that you believed. What's one that you feel like you really had to overcome in skincare?
I think vitamin C is an ingredient that I've come around on. Yeah. It doesn't work for me. And so whenever something
what do you mean by it doesn't work for you though?
I'll usually get irritation. Okay. If I use it multiple days in a row. And I think it's just a me thing. Yeah. But I think that a lot of people see fantastic results from it. And I love THD, which is an oil-soluble form of vitamin C. It's not L-ascorbic. It is not as well studied. So you just cannot make the same claims.
It's like tetrahesyldexyl.
I'm going to try to. But with vitamin C, for me, so many times it didn't work that I was very, I was like, ooh, vitamin C. There's a lot of great data on it. Yeah. More than a lot of other active ingredients. The bigger issue there is stability. And I would argue that a lot of brands that are using L-ascorbic are not stable at all.
Oh, agreed.
And so that's actually the bigger issue is like if the ingredient's ghosted on you, it's not going to work. Also, you want it at a certain pH level so like that it actually can penetrate the skin.
Which is a acidic pH level.
It's very acidic. And so I think that's actually what it is for me is like these more acidic forms. Because for me, even with like a chemical peel, if I use a chemical peel that has a really low pH, I'm a little... You got to be careful for like the next week.
So you know your skin, how sensitive it can be.
Exactly. But vitamin C is a great ingredient. There are a lot of forms of it and the efficacy is varying. I like it as an antioxidant for free radical damage.
Yeah. Okay. So then what are some skincare marketing terms that people think are real, but they're really just marketing terms?
It's so hard because in cosmetics, and we recently got called out for this and I was like, okay, this is kind of fair. We spoke. So we have 3 regulators. Okay. We have a regulator here in the US. We have one in the UK and then we have another one here. One of our regulators is more lenient. One is very strict. And then in the UK, you can actually say a lot in the UK. And I think therein lies the problem with kind of like just generally marketing.
But you can say more in the UK? How do I not know this?
Yeah, you can say more in the UK. Yeah, you can. It's kind of like, you're like,
Less ingredient usage, but more that you can say marketing wise.
Yeah, more marketing wise. Well, at least I see very big differences in terms of how some of the bigger brands position their websites. Yeah. And so anyways, in the US, it's very... Because the thing is like, these are all regulators. Yep. This is all their milieu. They all say that you can say different things, but it's because my brand does a lot of clinical studies. Yep. And so even our most strict regulator was really surprised by the level of clinical data that we have. She was like, oh, this is tough because you actually should be able to make these claims. Yep. But, you never know. And so just be very cautious. Yeah. And so technically a cosmetic, it can only be like a foundation. That is like the level of the claim that you're allowed to do. Right. But then like we all know what retinol does. Yeah. Sorry, it's going into the dermis. It is producing collagen and elastin. If it is stable, that is literally what it is doing. It is actually helping with wrinkles. And Vichy did a really interesting study. So grain of salt from a brand, but they actually compared, I believe it was a retinol with tretinoin. Okay. And they didn't see a difference in wrinkle depth, reduction, texture, tone, luminosity believe it was over 3 months.
Yep.
And maybe it was less. But anyways, all this to say it's like extended use and consistent use matters more than anything.
Than percentage or strength. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, I guess like my biggest secret unlock for skincare is be consistent. If you are consistent, especially with sunscreen, you're like winning the lottery here.
I know.
But in terms of like what skincare can and can't do, like I'm not even comfortable talking about it anymore because I'm just like, I know it's going to get picked apart. But like the reality is like we know what peptides do. Certain peptides do a lot. Some are just moisturizing.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Like Matrixyl 3000, like the amount of research on that peptide is wild. And then they actually came out with Matrixyl 6000, which is actually, I believe what's in Deliverance. I think that's like the brand name.
Yeah.
That you have a lot of research. Like, can we claim it? Like we have to say firming.
Right.
Even skin. In the US, you have to use doublespeak. We are the most like 1984 Orwellian.
Can help with.
Exactly. May help with the appearance of, which I did get confirmed by 3 regulators now. But ultimately, I would say like skincare is like your workout routine. You're not going to see results overnight, but if you stick with it, you'll see massive gains over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like working out is actually like so good for you. Like I started doing weight training like 5 years ago and I've been consistent.
Yep.
I feel better now than I did in my early 30s.
Same. No, I agree.
And so I would say the same for your skin. And that's kind of how I would perceive it. It's not plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is going to give you big gains.
Yeah.
But if you don't maintain it, then what's the point?
Exactly. So, but marketing terms in the sense of like medical grade. Is medical grade a real term or is it marketing?
Clean is marketing. Medical grade is marketing. There's the FDA that regulates things. And I do think that these terms actually belittle what the FDA does. And so I would just know that they're marketing terms. People are trying to sell you something. The product might be really good.
Yeah.
Like there's so many clean brands and I'm like, sick product.
Yeah.
Great formula.
Yeah.
Not necessarily regulated. So we try to stay away from it.
Yeah.
Even though like, could we claim medical grade? Like if you're going to be going by, we have 3 clinical studies on Deliverance and on Instant Angel.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
And like, that's more than a lot of brands. Like if you look at the total amount of people that we've tested
So you could be medical grade if you wanted to just call yourself medical grade.
But we do say that our reusable eye masks are medical grade silicone, but it's because it's the same silicone for like as implants.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
And so it's actually like a grade. There's like multiple different kinds. And so that's actually just to tell y'all that it's going to last a while.
Right.
Like it could be next to your like aorta or wherever they put a pacemaker. So
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. No, I tell people this all the time that Naturium, because we have clinical studies on products. We could be a medical grade brand if we want to, but we just don't like it because it's a marketing term.
Yeah. And it's just like
to make you feel like you should be spending more money. That's the other thing about it, right? More like that validates why this product is so expensive is really why
But I would put both medical grade and clean in kind of the same bucket of
I would too.
I don't love these terms because they actually kind of like, it's like you're kind of like belittling other brands to put yourself at a higher position.
Yep.
And it's kind of also like chipping away at the idea of like what regulation is.
Right.
And with medical grade, it's like, are you talking about back bar stuff? Like, I don't think you can buy like a TCA peel at like a pH of 2. And like, technically some estheticians in some states can.
Right.
Because I don't know if you saw like the whole Sonia Descartes thing.
I sure did. Everybody
But with
did.
the Sonia Descartes thing, it's like interesting to me because there are certain states where they regulate the pH of the chemical peel that you can work with. And some states don't, but it has to stay within that epidermis.
Yep.
And you can create hyperpigmentation in the epidermis because that's where if you create inflammation.
Yep.
But you shouldn't be able to do like 3rd degree chemical burns.
Right.
Because a lot of states are very clear that you must stay within that surface, which is the epidermis.
Yeah.
Because the second that you break through, that's dermatology.
We were talking about how you just started Botox. Are you okay with that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, it's funny. Like everyone hates women. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I'm like, just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
like, at
exactly.
this point, I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah. Well, are there any treatments like Botox maybe that you wish you would have started sooner?
I'm glad I started Botox when I did because it just really reinforced the idea that anyone who is doing Botox on like a 20-year-old, unless if they have like a serious condition,
right?
I have a lot of questions.
Same.
Because it just works. I had static lines. So there's dynamic wrinkles and there's static wrinkles. Botox treats dynamic wrinkles, right? So that's just expression, movement. I'm half Italian. Everybody has a lot of emotions when they talk. And so that was me, right? Like was getting really deep lines. And so there was no amount of tretinoin. It would just soften it, but it wouldn't get rid of it. And so I was curious. I was like, I was waking up on November 5th of 2024, stressed with my like forehead like furrowed. And this happened every day for like 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm getting Botox. I cannot wake up with these tension headaches, with deep lines. For what? Like, I'm just stressed. I actually want to care less about this. And so I went to the dermatologist. They did it, completely got rid of the wrinkles. And I was like, oh, I get why this shit's magic. I get it. I can pick, if I stop doing it, the wrinkles come back.
Exactly.
So what?
Yeah.
I can do that whenever I feel like it. And so for me, I don't wish that I got that done sooner. I think the only thing that I really wish I'd started sooner was really caring about sunscreen.
Same.
That's it.
That's all of
and
us. Well, all right. We already know you keep your skincare routine pretty basic, like pretty like straightforward.
Yeah.
But what are the non-negotiables?
Okay. Non-negotiables. Okay. So an exfoliant for cell turnover. As you get older, it slows down, right? You know that P50, they actually called it P50 because it's 50 days to see results because that's cell turnover.
I didn't know that.
So it's like 2 months essentially.
Okay.
So I was like, cute little skincare history. So I love an exfoliant.
Okay.
I love a retinoid, some sort of an antioxidant, a rich moisturizer, sunscreen cleanser. Those are the non-negotiables.
Your go-to antioxidant is what, niacinamide?
It's niacinamide. I love Deliverance because it has a complex. It's like a cocktail of antioxidants. And so niacinamide at 4% and 5% has actually been shown to lift hyperpigmentation.
Yep.
It takes time though. And so with Deliverance, I find that it really evens out skin tone. But for me, it's more redness and to be able to tolerate other ingredients.
Okay.
So it actually helps you tolerate more irritating ingredients because it's constantly calming and soothing the skin. And as you saw with your melasma, inflammation can actually cause all sorts of things because even if it's surface inflammation, it might be triggering those melanocytes, which again are in that epidermal layer.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful about what you put on your skin and make sure that like you're just cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
And so I do layer both Deliverance and a vitamin C. I love Medicate as a brand, generally speaking, but I love their vitamin C as well. And then there's Poems from the Lab, Kind of Steven. Really great vitamin C, but it is a bit stronger. So that's more if like you want like the heavy hitting. If I'm going to be out in the sun all day, I actually do go for that one, but I can't use it every day. So I'm always kind of like rotating there. Most mornings, I will use Sophie Pavitt's Mandelic Clearing Serum because it's gentle. I think I used to want to do things really harsh and dramatically.
All of us.
Once or twice a week. And now I'm like, that daily workout, that daily, 10,000 steps, that's actually more what I'm into now. Gentle, consistent.
Yeah.
And so I'll do the clearing serum, then Deliverance, moisturizer, sunscreen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll get a little crazy with the hydration where I'll use like a Rhode glazing milk, or Bioma has a beautiful one. Dr. Loretta has one. Like everybody has these like beautiful essences because I think we did the right thing by taking on some of these K-beauty steps.
Yeah.
Essences are beautiful. I prefer an essence over a hydrating serum any day.
Same.
Because I just find that it's like you have to dampen your face before a hydrating serum. Perhaps just put it together. And so there's that. And then sunscreen, I switch up all the time.
Are we going to get a sunscreen from Dieux?
I mean, I'm going to make you try 4 samples we have in our
I love it. She's like, I actually came prepared for you.
I will say, and this isn't me just saying this because I'm on your podcast. I've talked about this in the past, but I do think that your sunscreen, PA4+, SPF 50, doesn't burn the eyes, goes on beautifully. It's a great sunscreen.
Thank you.
Then I look at like Dr. Idris. They have a great sunscreen. Yeah. But it's like for us, I'm like, I don't know if I can do better than that. Yeah. So am I going to launch another sunscreen?
Yeah, I think you can always do better. I think every brand can always do better.
So what we're waiting for is for DSM to get BEMT through.
Which explain to everybody is a filter, right?
So Tinosorb S is what it's known as, but that's actually owned by BASF. And so DSM is another large scale contract manufacturer, or not contract manufacturer, sorry, raw material supplier. So raw material supplier that makes sunscreen ingredients. They make lots of ingredients, but one of them is sunscreen filters. And so Carl Ruiz, it has been a champion for getting this approved. He's been working at it for over 20 years. Yeah. Sweet soul. Literally, God bless this man because, wow, we're very close. They did all the steps for regulation. They even did animal testing. And I'm going to go to bat for this. Like, you need animal testing on new drugs. And unfortunately, the new alternative methods, NAMs, fight for that. Do not come after the brands.
Yeah.
Come after the regulation, because it is a total smokescreen in terms of what's going to actually change the industry. But anyway, so he did all the appropriate testing and so did DSM. It looks like 2026, it's going to be allowed on the market.
Okay.
So we have a lot of sunscreens in the works with that particular filter.
Oh, okay. So we're waiting for the new stuff. See,
So I think
can
that
always do better. Well, explain to people that might not know that sunscreen filters are different here in the United States versus outside of the United States.
So so it's actually interesting. These sunscreen filters that we use here, they're available everywhere.
Yep.
And so, for example, avobenzone is very common in Europe in sunscreens, just as a baseline.
Well, because it's a really great sunscreen filter.
It's a great sunscreen filter, and you can actually use it at higher levels than in the United States. So like people always talk about like, oh, this evil FDA. And I'm like, the FDA actually like limits some of the sunscreen use like that for safety, like for what they wanted to do for safety testing. Yep. You also cannot formulate avobenzone and zinc together, but I think that probably could be like debunked in today's age. This was all done in the 90s. And so what's different though is that in Europe, they have innovated. Okay. So they have actually made sunscreen filters better. And when I say better, I mean they absorb a broad spectrum of light. They're more elegant to apply. You can use them in lower doses with less irritation, because these are, powerful ingredients. They can be irritating. Yep. But if you use them at lower doses, like 20% vitamin C is different than 5% vitamin C. It's kind of a similar concept.
Yep.
Lower doses, elegant, so they actually dry down and are not greasy.
Don't get into your eyes, all that stuff.
That's actually the thing. I did this test, which was very unscientific, but I actually just started putting sunscreens directly into my eye from Europe, from Korea, everything.
What?
They burn like a mother. They burn insanely bad.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I was like, they just dry down.
Yeah.
Or they're water resistant and they don't feel water resistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, it's all in the formula. Any ingredient that's going to get into your eyes other than saline is probably going to burn.
You know what? When I slug and I overdo it on my eyelid, I wake up in the morning with my eyes feeling a little irritated and blurry because the petrolatum eventually makes its way into my eyes.
And that's the thing. So I'm just kind of sitting here and I'm like, I feel like we just need these newer sunscreens here. But the thing is that they've been regulated as cosmetics in most of the rest of the world. I was talking to somebody from Mecca, and they explained to me that in 2005, I believe, that Australia changed how you approve drugs for just sunscreen. I believe it was just sunscreen. I would need to fact check all this, but the approval process is different. Whereas the US stayed kind of in the dark ages.
Yes.
And so there's no innovation that's really being allowed without these insane barriers to entry. And just to give you an idea, to get a new sunscreen filter approved, it costs millions of dollars. There are no guarantees. You are at the bottom of the barrel with the FDA, because to get your things approved, like you have to pay in order to get it done. It's actually where the FDA gets some of their revenue, because we are a chronically underfunded, we have a chronically underfunded FDA. And so the FDA has to keep the lights on. I don't blame them for prioritizing, certain drugs that are going to like pay more, but also save lives like right now.
Right.
Whereas like a sunburn is, you're going to get a sunburn now, and then you're going to have problems decades from now. And so you have to give the FDA some slack here, but at the same time, it's like, this is just one of the easiest prevention methods. And we have decades of data from other countries, and Australia is pretty stringent in how they approve things.
They're like probably the most stringent
there.
Yeah.
And so like, can't we just kind of like extrapolate some of the data here? So this is kind of where I'm like, I understand the law. I think the law is wrong and we should be changing it. I know there's a bill. It's HR 36. I'm not going to HR string of numbers. It's been introduced as a bill, and it's to basically really push the FDA, like get this shit approved.
Peptide maxing. Please explain what peptide maxing is.
So peptide maxing, I cannot escape protein maxing. Like, do you see the protein maxing content?
I mean, everything. I feel like my life is protein. I think about protein at my age all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's like, how much protein can I get in?
Exactly. And so I think that, for me, I'm like, peptides are basically fragments of protein. And so I was just trying to create like something in the minds of people where I'm like, the same way that protein is like an important structure, like you can actually use quite a few peptides, but I would concentrate them into like 2 or 3 products. Like don't layer 12 products.
Right.
But for me, I love when a moisturizer has some peptides in it.
Yeah. I do too. Shoot, my whole favorite collection that we've created for Naturium is our multi-peptide collection.
And so for me, having peptides in it, and so for us, we use dipalmityl hydroxyproline in both Instant Angel and Air Angel. But then in Air Angel, we have this vegan amino acid complex, which actually was shown with glycerin to swell the dermis by supplier data. And they used to come from the pharmaceutical world. They actually used to make drugs. And so their data was like, Joyce found it very, very compelling. And when we did clinicals, we also saw very similar, like instant plumping. But again, it's not like forever. Like this is also a little bit cosmetic sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like it just like swells the skin. And so for me, I was like, people love peptides, but they don't know what peptides are. It's like almost like saying something as broad as antioxidants. It's like there are so many different kinds of antioxidants and they don't all do the same thing. And so some peptides, they are just barrier repair.
Yeah.
Or they act like collagen as like hydrating ingredients.
Right.
It's not good or bad. It just is what it is. But then there are some peptides, like say, this is like one of the older peptides, but Matrixyl 3000, they were the first. So much data, like pretty compelling data on collagen synthesis. Is it a drug? No. But we know that certain peptides can signal.
Do more.
Well, Joyce was a biochemist. And so she was explaining to me that she's like this idea that like ingredients have to penetrate. She's like, well, with signal peptides, they basically trigger a chain reaction to then tell your skin to do something.
Right.
Sometimes that something is collagen synthesis, but you can't say that.
Right. Well, yeah, because skincare
We're operating in the epidermis.
Yes. And it's cosmetic.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's foundation.
It's foundation. I love it. I love it. Have you seen any skincare ingredients that are exciting to you right now?
I think some encapsulation techniques are really interesting that I've seen.
Will you explain that to people?
So encapsulation, so for example, Medik8, they encapsulate their retinol and their glycolic acid actually in cyclodextrin. And so basically it just helps deliver the active, but more gently. I've now seen like almost like, you know, when you cut like a tree trunk and you see like the shells, like multiple layers of shells, so that it's a very gentle release over time because it's, you know, if you put something all at once versus little by little, obviously the irritation level is going to be different. And for me, it's like, how do you target certain reactions in the skin without creating irritation? Because irritation is going to create its own problems.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like if you irritate your skin 24/7 and you have chronic inflammation, you're actually then going to potentially do more damage.
Yeah.
So I think anything that can deliver those kinds of results gently is something that I'm really interested in. I always love peptides. Yeah. Even though peptides are less studied, and they are less studied. Like, let's be real. There are some really interesting things that they can do and signal. Yeah. So I think those are two fields where it's very interesting. And like, I'd love to see more data and more on the exosome front, particularly when they're made from biotech. Yep. I'm a little creeped out by like umbilical cord, like exosomes.
The ones that come from actual human beings. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones like, because the thing is that here's the reality. Whenever you source something from a living being, if demand outpaces supply, ethics will come into play.
Oh, agreed.
It's like with beef tallow.
Yeah.
It is or even collagen. When collagen was going through its massive heyday.
Like collagen peptides.
And I'm talking edible. Who remembers the massive news story that nobody talked about how the Amazon was being destroyed for these peptides and these collagen peptides, whatever. And so for me, I'm like, I get really nervous sourcing things from living beings. I like plants and I like biotech. And can you mimic the exact ingredient because of the tax on the environment, but also there is probably an ethical concern there. Same thing with beef tallow. You're starting to see beef tallow demand outpace supply. And so this whole thing, it's grass-fed. A lot of these grass-fed things, you're actually being seized at the border. They're actually being stopped because they're calling themselves USDA and they're not. They're coming from who knows where, who knows how these animals are being treated. Like, and for what? Like a very mid moisturizer? Like, well, no, thank you.
What are skincare ingredients that you think are overdone? Besides vitamin C?
I think all the barrier repair stuff, going over and over and over again. I'm like, let's be real about what barrier repair is and skin flooding with like the same, like that can actually cause some issues potentially.
Yeah. The skin flooding thing, I actually really love it because the Korean side of me is like, I really love this trend because it's like Korean does like the seven skin thing with essences where you're just like applying over and over again. And my friend Ashley was like the one that made it really popular to do skin flooding.
But they're very light products and they don't have a ton of oil in them. Yes. People are using these oily ass products with tons of barrier repair ingredients. And I'm like, the original essence was created by Shiseido. Yeah. It's basically a watered down serum with almost zero barrier ingredients in there.
I know. It's so light on the skin. And I think that's the problem is like a trend starts on social media and people don't see the nuance in it. Like, is it for their skin? Are they using the right products to do this trend? So there are,
and I'm sure Ashley is using something quite light.
Yeah, well, she loves K-beauty.
It's probably humectant based.
Yep.
Like Beauty of Joseon has this like rice toner that is like so bare bones basic formula, but like that's actually what you could use it for because it's almost like water.
Yeah.
But when you're using like a toner that is like a rich milky toner, I'm like,
I know, like 7 to 10
and then you
times.
go in with your serum and I'm like, you actually just skip the serums now.
Yeah.
Because also some essences actually have like brightening properties, have exfoliating properties.
Yeah.
And then people are doing like 8 layers of that. And I'm like,
I know.
Like my pearls. I'm like, oh.
Well, and people don't understand your skin can only absorb so much. So you're even just wasting product potentially.
And it's like barrier repair. You are, by definition, if the product's actually doing that, you are reinforcing your barrier.
Yeah.
You don't need 8 to 12 layers of it.
No. Okay, last question. What do you think about topical estrogen?
Okay, so this one is really hard because it's never going to get studied at the large scale trials that are needed for safety.
It's likely to never get studied.
Likely. And the reason why I say likely is because you're not going to make money off of it, number one. And number two, it's been used off label for so many years. So who is going to kind of own that? From what I understand, and I've spoken now to multiple OBGYNs who are really not concerned if you're using estriol. Yeah. Estriol, there's estradiol and estriol. And some of them won't even go on the record because they're like, we don't want to deal with the drama of this. Yeah. Because rightfully so, some people are like, don't use it. And it's like, in the extreme caution, don't use it. But estriol has the weakest binding affinity for what is of concern in terms of like, you know, health, breast cancer, uterine cancer, things like that.
Well, backtrack a little bit and explain to people why anybody would want to use topical estrogen.
So topical estrogen only makes sense if you are going through perimenopause or menopause. Okay. It does not, you can't do preventative estrogen. Right. There's literally no point. And the thought process behind this was that, you know, when you're going through menopause, your vagina dries out, sex hurts, it's not pleasant.
And it's from lack of estrogen.
Yes, and systemic estrogen. And so there's also 3 kinds of estrogen. So basically systemic estrogen wasn't helping reinforce the barrier. You're just reinforcing the barrier of your barrier repair for the vagina. And so
for the vagine.
For the vagine. And so that the thought process was, okay, well, if it's barrier strengthening and thickening the barriers like that, it's not so weak. Maybe it'll do the same for your skin because with your skin, it's pretty jarring. Yeah. You can lose 1/3 of your collagen, I believe, in the first 5 years
of menopause. Wow.
And so people just started putting their vaginal cream on their face off label, kind of like tretinoin was used for 20 years before somebody did the work. And that's the thing. And so, and also it was used on the face. So it's not a great comparison. And so I've talked to a few dermatologists who are quite conservative on estrogen. And they're like, for us, we don't really recommend it anywhere but under your eyes and on the backs of your hands. And if you localize it like that, we're not too concerned. But they're like, but you don't there's not 100% certainty on safety. And so for me, I'm like, personal choice, I'm not going to have an opinion. I'm actually not because I'm like, I've seen the before and afters. Like super compelling. Yeah. I will say that when I go through menopause, I'm probably going to put a tiny bit under my eyes and on the backs of my hands. I probably will. Yeah. Even without the trials, but I don't know if I'm going to feel super comfortable recommending it moving forward because I'm not an OBGYN. Yeah. And I think that's a thing. Talk to your OBGYN.
Talk to your OBGYN. They're likely going to tell you they're uncertain because, and most of them will be conservative and tell you not to, you know, like
depends on
who.
That's the thing and that's when I was kind of like, you know what, never mind. Because I spoke to so many dermatologists and they're like, we've been prescribing it off label. And I'm like, can I say that? And they're like, no. Yeah. And then I talked to so many OBGYNs and they're like, do you want to know my public statement or what I would tell you in the room? Yeah. And I'm like, fucking hell. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I know. Just forget it because I'm not a doctor. And so I don't feel comfortable talking about these things. But I also think to say that there's like zero data and it's totally unsafe. I think that's equally unfair. But at the same, it's like, I don't know if you know this, but like in London, you can buy Oves. I believe that's how you say it. Oves, O-V-E-S-S-E.
Is this an estrogen cream?
An estriol cream, over the counter like cortisone. Yeah. So this idea that it's like so unsafe. And they're also lobbying to get the black box label off of estrogen cream. My thing is like what I want to see studied, systemic estrogen, right? Yeah. Menopause hormone therapy, like what you take or what you're putting into your body. Yeah. Does that plus an estrogen cream actually lead to differences in the skin? Because they have noticed that when you start taking hormone therapy, that it actually does help your facial skin. And I don't know if they found the same topically with your vagina because you're on both. Yeah. They also didn't see that estriol absorbed very much. Like it wasn't much systemic absorption. So again, a lot of questions, but I am not qualified to give a recommendation.
I think,
I am going to tell you what I'm going to do on my face, probably a little bit under my eyes.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I think the big thing is if you can't test your hormone levels regularly, then you just don't know. Period, right? I'm like in this wellness journey of my life, right? Like you hit your 40s and you're like, I'm going to do all the supplements. I'm going to inject anything that they tell me to inject, whatever, right? All the peptides.
Yep. Oh, it's working.
Well, thank you. But the medical professionals I work with, like I'll see something online and I'll forward it to them. If you want to even try it, we have to do your labs to make sure, because people don't realize there's so many, like maybe, yes, there are benefits, but then there can be side effects. Like some of these peptides are growth factors. If you're taking growth factors, it can help maybe maintain muscle, but it can also maybe grow cancer if you're growing cancer in your body. Right?
Yeah. So it's like you have to think about things more. And so that's the thing. And I think what just sucks about being in the United States is that we don't have accessible healthcare.
I know.
And so for me, like we're getting into a really like privileged conversation because so many people criticize some of these companies that prescribe like hormone therapy. And I'm like, some of my friends don't have healthcare and that is their only option if they don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars that they don't have. And so for me, that's not talking about cream. I'm talking about
replacement
therapy. And so for me, it's just, this is ultimately like we have some systemic issues in the United States. And we're also talking about vanity. And so people love to come after vanity as like, oh my God, what a terrible thing. Like you're trying to kill women, because of their vanity. And I'm like, okay. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we also know that once we hit 40, we start to disappear in society. So
and I'm like,
do what you want to do. That makes you feel good.
Do what you want to do that makes you feel good, but definitely err on the side of caution and like talk to your OBGYN. But ultimately, I'm like, for me, I'm like very like, I touched the topic and then I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to do a much longer Substack. I just need to find more OBGYNs to talk to me on the record. And that's been actually my biggest problem is finding people to talk to me on the record. But I have plenty of conversations off the record.
All of us do. Well, Charlotte, where can everyone find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Charlotte Parlay and TikTok, actually, for that matter. And then you can find me my brand, Dieux, at Dieux Skin. On both Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. And
my Substack.
Sephora.
Yeah. Oh, and in Sephora.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much.
By this time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This would have been our conversation.
Yeah. We would have absolutely been just talking about this over coffee.
Exactly.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of GlowLab. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a review, share it with your friends, give it a like on social media. And it's all so we can continue giving you really great episodes and bring you on some really great guests.